Valley, hooey Hollywood, where any office boy or
Good morning, everybody, and welcome into another week of That Movie Show, sponsored by Showcase Cinemas. Mike Wendt and Eddie McCabe taking you through another week of movie talk. Eddie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and it's a great day for movies.
It is. I'm very excited about today because there's, again, little to no news. I mean, the Batmobile was released for the new Batman movie. That's a big one.
Yeah, sure.
That was a big Instagram pop.
Yeah. I saw a picture of it, and I was like, this is kind of weird.
It kind of looks like an old muscle car.
It does. It does look like an old muscle car, which is fine.
It's
cool.
Fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. That was really the only thing that I saw as far as movie news that got me even moderately excited. So
yeah,
I figured, since on the podcast version of this show, which you can find at thatmovieshow.net, along with our Facebook page, where we are streaming right now, facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv. Today, we're going to be talking about Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. So, since it's a slow news day, I figured we'd take a trip down Kevin Smith Lane and take a look at all of his various titles. What we did Clerks on the podcast maybe a year or so ago, so that's in the archives. But you actually went to one of the Jay and Silent Bob Roadshow versions.
Yeah, so I've actually been to a bunch of Kevin Smith speaking. I went to the Roadshow for Red State too.
Wow, good one.
So they're a very, very fun evening. I think it's still going on. I believe it's coming to Rhode Island fairly soon, or it just happened, one or the other. I didn't do research for this part, but
good job.
Professional
broadcasting.
Professional. But basically, what he does now is, for some of these movies, he travels around the country. You watch the movie, and then he does a Q&A after. And by Q&A, it's mostly a person asks a question, and then he just like talks for 20 minutes. And
I've heard he talks for 2 hours on each question.
Yeah, and then somebody else asks a question, and then he talks for another 2 hours, and it's very interesting. He's a fantastic storyteller, and I highly recommend going to one of these. But yeah, it was at the Wilbur Theater in downtown Boston, and I went and got to go, and it was the second showing.
That's awesome.
It was fantastic. I had an absolute blast. The movie was good, and it was even the Q&A after was even fun. The Wilbur had to kick everybody out because their entertainment license was done.
Well, that's what I heard. I heard it. He basically goes until he's kicked out.
Yeah, they just go until they kick him out. Like, hey, we physically can't have any more people in the building anymore, so you got to go.
According to the website Reboot Roadshow, it ended on February 26th in New Orleans. However, it's weird that the buy tickets links are still available for like all the stuff back in February. They were in Rhode Island in February. They did Connecticut in February, Portland, Maine in February. But it looks like it's wrapped up. I mean, unless he decides to take it on the road again, but it's out on, digital download, and I got the Blu-ray and all that stuff. So we're going to spend the back half of our show, after we're done here on the radio, deep diving into Jay and Silent Bob Reboot on our Facebook page, facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv. But yeah, let's jump into Kevin Smith and his catalog. You want to just go chronologically?
Yeah, let's just go chronologically and kind of just touch on everything.
We'll touch on the good stuff.
Sure.
Okay. I mean, even though Netflix is telling me that Cop Out is a top 10 movie right now, come on. Even Kevin Smith doesn't believe that one. Check his Twitter.
No one believes that.
Let's start with Clerks, 1994. For me personally, I've always said that one of the reasons I wanted to get into entertainment and television, movies, etc., was Quentin Tarantino. However, my more realistic influence was Kevin Smith. Him and Robert Rodriguez's do-it-yourself type of mentality as far as filmmaking was amazingly inspiring to me in the mid-90s, and I believe yourself as well.
Yeah, Clerks is a perfect example of if there's a will, there's a way. He had access to this convenience store, so he made a movie about a convenience store, and it was very simple. The extras were his friends, and they were walking by the camera multiple times to make it seem like there were multiple people.
The stars were his friends.
The stars were his friends, right?
I think Walt Flanagan played 8 roles in the movie.
Yeah, and he maxed out credit cards to do it. And, you can hear him speak about it with any of the evenings with Kevin Smith. He definitely dives into more detail about it. But yeah, it's an inspiring story as to somebody who, at the time in 1994, and a little bit before, the studio system was still a real thing, right? If you wanted to make movies, you had to go to Hollywood, you had to be in Paramount, you had to be in 20th Century Fox, Disney, one of these major studios if you wanted to make movies. And with a movie like Clerks and Reservoir Dogs, those type of films showed that it's like, no, you can, if you have a good story and you have a passion for this, you can make something good and you can make something that people are going to want to see, and you don't have to be tied to one of these studios.
Right. It was definitely a really, really cool time in this early to mid 90s for independent film. I mean, people like Kevin Smith and, like I mentioned, Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, even Richard Linklater and those types. They were making movies for no money that were extremely relatable to real people because they were about real people. I mean, I just literally just watched an interview with Kevin Smith this morning where he was talking about hearing Robert Rodriguez on the Howard Stern show because he had just done El Mariachi when Kevin Smith was getting ready to do Clerks. And Robert Rodriguez has said it many times. He's like, he had access to a guitar case, a turtle, and a couple of his friends. So he wrote them all into El Mariachi, and that was how that was born.
Right.
And the Kevin Smith was like, well, I have a convenience store and a video store and a bunch of friends, so let's just do that.
Right. And it's by any means necessary and just getting it done. And, I think that you can see that. I mean, even as the budgets get bigger with these movies, it still kind of has that same feel.
It's almost, I mean, with Reboot, it's almost come full circle for him because he basically co-financed Reboot.
Right.
There was a whole story about between
all kinds of tidbits. I have all kinds of tidbits with Reboot because of just things that he actually said
because you were there.
Because I was there. So, definitely stay tuned for the back half of this because I got a lot of firsthand accounts that's almost like an interview.
So you're going to want to go to facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv so we catch the back half when we're done here on radio. So, I mean, we deep dove into Clerks, like I said, about a year ago. So you can go to thatmovieshow.net and find it in the archives. So let's jump right into 1995, Mallrats, his first foray into the studio business, basically.
Yeah, I only seen this movie once.
Really?
I've only seen it once. I saw the cartoon before I saw the actual movie.
The Clerks cartoon?
There's like a Mallrats like short-lived like animated thing. It was I don't think he did it. I don't think he did it at all.
I'll have to check my Blu-ray.
Yeah. So I want to say that it was that. And it might have been in that like Clerks animated, like as like a part of that.
Right. Mallrats, I found more again behind the scenes stuff because back then the DVD extras and all that stuff. He was one of the champions of that. So you would get a movie if it was a Kevin Smith movie, you'd have probably 6 hours of content behind you. And Mallrats, one of the really interesting things was the casting of Jay Mewes, who, of course, was, Jason was Jay in all these movies. And Universal didn't want him. They're like, okay, it was cute that you and your friend did this in Clerks, but this is a real movie. And they wanted to make a thing out of Breckenmeyer.
Yeah.
So they already had, basically, Universal cast Breckenmeyer as Jay, and of Jay and Silent Bob. To the point they really didn't want him so much that Kevin Smith was like, okay, well, how about I fly him out? You don't have to pay him, but let Jason work for like the first day or so. And then if he doesn't do a good job, you can fire him and we'll bring in Breckenmeyer. Funny story was, of course, Jay ended up being Jay and throughout all the movies, including Mallrats, but they basically took Breckenmeyer and just inserted that character into Clueless.
Yes.
He was literally doing the Jay character in Clueless. You can tell it with the hair, the whole deal. But again, bringing his friends along, stuff like Brian O'Halloran played so many different Hicks brothers. It's not even funny. He's got, of course, Dante from Clerks. He's got Gil Hicks in Mallrats.
Yep.
In the Reboot, he's the newscaster. That's Grant Hicks. It's just the whole Hicks family. I would love to see the lineage.
It's very funny. It just how many of them are twins and are they
Twins and
multiples?
cousins.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed Mallrats. I still, it's one of those movies that occasionally I'll go back and I'll rewatch maybe every year or so, every 2 years or so. But I found it really charming and enjoyable.
Yeah.
It was also basically the first the incarnation of the Kevin Smith Ben Affleck relationship.
Yeah, because that's he helped them with Good Will Hunting
A year later. Yeah.
a year later.
It was it was basically after Chasing Amy. Him and Matt Damon did Good Will Hunting, and Kevin Smith brought it to the Weinsteins and got it made.
Right, so yeah, but this is where that relationship kind of blooms, right, between the two of them. So
and he plays an ultimate scumbag in this one.
Yeah. Yeah. This is where fictional characters is, right?
No, that's down in Strike Back.
That's in Strike Back.
This is where he's the proprietor of Fashionable Mail, the men's shop at the mall.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Where he likes to how do I put this on radio? He likes to put women in uncomfortable positions.
Yeah.
Like the back of a Volkswagen?
Yeah, look, Mallrats, his character in Mallrats, and then ultimately Chasing Amy, they don't age well. They don't particularly age well. But then is redeemed in Reboot.
Yes, absolutely. As well as Chasing Amy character. We never see what the hell was his name in Mallrats? Because I just remember him as Fashionable Male.
Yeah, Fashionable Male.
Fashionable Male. He did have a name, which I'm going to have to now find. Let me see. Shannon Hamilton. How could I forget Shannon Hamilton? What a name.
Yeah, what a name, huh?
Such a slappable name.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, he definitely was on the polo team.
Oh, yeah. Oh, maybe even swim club.
Yeah, swim club. He was a high diver.
Yeah, definitely. But it was also basically his character from Dazed and Confused.
Yeah.
Yes. I was a big deal in high school, and now I'm going to just beat people up in the mall.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and then, moving on is Chasing Amy, a movie that definitely doesn't age well. But it depends on if you take the movie at face value or if you, kind of look a little deeper into it, I guess.
It was also probably the most personal of Kevin Smith movies at the time.
Yeah.
Because he had been actually in a relationship with Joey Lauren Adams, who's the star of Chasing Amy. She had a smaller role in Mallrats, right. And they were together, and then she broke up, and basically the whole story was kind of loosely based around their relationship. Some of the dialogue is actually from letters he wrote to her and stuff like that. So it was again, Kevin Smith DVD commentaries. They are a wealth of information.
Yeah. My favorite is one of my favorite ones is 1999's Dogma,
which you can't buy anymore.
Yeah,
you know the story about that?
Well, so Harvey Weinstein owns it, and and so yeah, he owns that movie. Kevin Smith did say in the roadshow that he was like, hey, hopefully that now that he's in trouble. He wasn't officially going to jail yet, but it was definitely heading that way, and now he is. He's going to try and sell off some of these assets, and he's going to look to try and purchase Dogma so that he can do something with it. Right. And again, there's a funny little tidbit that we'll talk about in the Jay and Silent Bob reboot end of this that has to do with Dogma. But yeah, because it's kind of locked away in this Miramax Harvey Weinstein vault, you can't really do anything with it.
Right. It was co-financed when they were at Miramax with Disney. And because it got such blowback from the Catholic Church, Disney was going to basically shelve it. Yeah. And the Weinsteins bought it from Disney. They then released the rights to, I believe, Sony to do the theatrical and Lionsgate to do the home video release. Or maybe that's backwards. Either way.
Yeah,
the point was
something like that.
When this deal was struck, this was before streaming ever was a thought. So it was never put into the deal. And that's why it's also not available. Like, it's never been released again on Blu-ray. So basically the Weinsteins own this, not even Miramax, but the two of them, Bob and Harvey, personally own this movie and have done nothing with it, including sell it back to Kevin Smith. So yes, hopefully now that, all the trouble is shaking out with the Weinsteins, or at least Harvey, he'll be able to get Dogma back.
Yeah.
Silver lining, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess silver
Forget all
lining.
the silliness that went on with him. I just want Dogma.
And I'm pretty sure that we have a very monumental moment in Dogma at the end when they say Jay and Silent Bob will be back in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, which is a precursor to the entire MCU, where they, at the end of the movies, they say Black Panther will be back in
Avengers Infinity War. Yeah.
So.
And now we get Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back in 2001, which was basically supposed to be the culmination of the View Askewniverse.
Right.
This is what he thought was going to be his swan song for the Jay and Bob characters and all these characters, the Dantes and the Randalls and all of the characters that came through, which is why it was a cameo-filled hilarity.
Yeah, calamity.
We'll get into that in 1 second, but we, of course, have to tell you about Showcase Cinemas and Showcase Subscribe. It is the best way to see more movies a month, starting as low as $11.95. You can get individual plans or group plans, and you can even gift subscriptions to the ones you love. Go to showcasesubscribe.com right now, because you can not only get movie tickets in advance, you can go get The Quiet Place 2 is coming out.
Electric
tickets for that. Electric Boogaloo. Or you can take the kids to go see Onward, the new Pixar movie in theaters right now. Last week, I went and saw The Invisible Man. I saw it in X Plus, and first of all, I liked it. I thought it was a unique, interesting take on this classic story. But what I really loved about it, especially seeing it in X Plus or in IMAX, depending on which Showcase cinemas you're at, the sound was at times so claustrophobic. It really added to the tension in the movie. So I highly recommend going and seeing The Invisible Man in theaters at Showcase Cinemas. Again, thanks to Showcase Cinemas for presenting that movie show. And jump over to our Facebook page, facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv, immediately following or right now this radio show, so we can talk about Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Let's jump back into
our 100th episode.
This is our 100th episode, and we're sharing it with the people. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, 2001. I love this. I remember seeing this in theaters. I was, again, a huge Kevin Smith fan. You're seeing all the characters come back for what we thought was one last hurrah.
Yeah, it was definitely a very interesting movie that just felt like a crazy culmination of a bunch of nonsense. Yeah. Also, Will Ferrell in this movie, fantastic.
Yep, as what was it, Sheriff Willenholly?
Yeah, he was like a park ranger or something. Like, oh god, and he's just trying to get that monkey.
Just trying to get the monkey, man. It's a story about two men and their monkey.
Yeah. It's fantastic. Cameos galore. Mark Hamill. It's awesome.
As Blank Knocker.
Yeah, as Blank Knocker.
This is the one where we get, the Holden McNeil fictional characters, which you and I have used many times, especially talking about pro wrestling.
Oh God, yeah.
Ben Affleck in 2 roles. I know he plays Holden in that scene, but he also plays himself later in Good Will Hunting 2, Hunting Season.
Yes.
Which gives us Lemon Face, Lion Face.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that was some of the coolest stuff was Kevin going back and basically making spoof sequels to all of these Miramax properties at the time. But also, because he's Kevin Smith and he has the clout to do so, getting the original cast and directors. Gus Van Sant sitting in the back counting money. Wes Craven was on the Scream shoot with Shannon Doherty.
Yeah, it's great because that's what really kind of sells Kevin Smith is his ability to do stuff like that, right? Because it would have been a lame joke that would have kind of ended up like one of those scary movie spinoffs, if it's just like, yeah, we're on the set of Scream and it's like it's someone that looks like Shannon Doherty and it's someone that looks like Wes Craven, but it's like, no, I got Wes Craven and Shannon Doherty to be in this spoof scene.
Well, the funny thing is, Jay and Silent Bob are actually part of the Scream universe. If you remember Scream 3, they're making a stab movie, and they're on the back lot. And sure enough, taking the back lot tour are Jay and Silent Bob.
That's right. Yeah,
You remember that?
that's right. I totally forgot about that.
I remember another Kevin Smith, Jason Mewes interview where they were talking about that cameo, and apparently they paid him like $300 per diem each day and gave him a free T-shirt. And Jay asked Kevin, "Why do you continue making movies? Let's just do cameos for the rest of our life." They give us $300 a day and a T-shirt. It's the simple things, kids. It's the simple things.
It is. It is the simple things in life.
And of course, the simple things in life, it's so simple. Oh, look at this segue. So simple to get Showcase Subscribe. Just go to showcasesubscribe.com. Sign up for Showcase Subscribe because it's the easiest way to get movie tickets. You see more movies a month with plans starting as low as $11.95. As we've mentioned before, you can get one for yourself or you can get a group plan. You can gift plans. And be sure to sign up for Showcase's Star Pass also. It's their rewards program where every dollar you spend, you get points, and you can use those points for concessions, movie tickets, etc., etc. I actually used it when I was at Invisible Man. I took my star points and I got myself a water and some Reese's Pieces, and I was a happy boy at the theater. Oh. Thank you, Showcase Cinemas, for presenting that movie show. And of course, head over to our Facebook page, facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv, where Eddie and I will be discussing Jay and Silent Bob Reboot as soon as the radio show is done, which is in about 9 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh.
So let's kind of breeze through the rest of the View Askew universe. We're not going to talk about Jersey Girl or Cop Out, even though I absolutely love Red State. I think it's one of his best movies, top 3 movies for me for him. I've recently rewatched and become a huge fan of Zach and Miri Make a Porno. All of a sudden he took this, gross out sex comedy and made it like a romantic movie, like that I never saw before until like one of the most rewatches. But let's just wrap it up with Clerks 2.
I was going to say Clerks 2 is oddly enough the first Kevin Smith movie I ever saw.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
2006. But yeah, Clerks 2 was kind of like it was one of those things. He got the band back together one more time. And again, this one, much like Jay and Silent Bob before it, felt like, okay, this is the wrap up of the View Askew universe. He had done Jersey Girl. He was getting ready to do some other things. I believe he was dipping into TV at this point with, different projects. He wanted to do other things. He wanted to get away from the Jay and Silent Bob stuff, which now he absolutely can't do.
Yeah, right.
He realized where his bread is buttered. But yeah, Clerks 2 is so good. Like, it doesn't deserve to be as good as it really is.
Yeah, it's touching and it's funny.
And Rosario Dawson is America's sweetheart in this movie, even with the ATM conversation.
Yes. That was the one.
How do I say that on radio?
Yeah, that was the weirdest part about the Jay and Silent Bob reboot is that she's not in the part that you think she would be in.
Right. But she is there, and she's just as charming.
Yeah, Rosario Dawson is fantastic.
She is wonderful.
She is delightful. I absolutely love that. It gave us such great things as Pillow Pants, which is fantastic. That entire character is just delightful.
Randall was amazing in this. The whole Lord of the Rings scene.
Yes. Yeah,
I made fun of Lord of the Rings so hard that nerd just puked all over the place.
I made the mop. I made a Lord of the Rings nerd puke so hard he puked.
But it is so,
and they were the
good.
Hobbits.
They were
in those. Yeah.
Again, another cameo filled thing. A great one of my favorite Affleck cameos showed up right off the set of Smoking Aces with his full on bounty. Wife.
Yeah.
It's not sanitary. Avert your eyes, you perv. Jason Lee showing up off the set of My Name is Earl again.
Yep.
Lot of mustache cameos in Clerks 2.
Yeah, so it should have been Clerks 2 Mustache Mountain.
Mustache Boogaloo.
Yeah, Clerks 2 Mustache Boogaloo.
But it also sets us up for a continuing story because we wrap up Clerks 2 with Jay and Silent Bob having a bunch of money from the Bluntman and Chronic franchise, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so they have royalties because of Bluntman and Chronic from the results of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Right.
Which, they're able to buy the Quick Stop, so they're actually the owners of the Quick Stop, and the other guys just hang out and work
Dante
there.
and Randall just work there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we're left. And he took quite a few years. He went and did some other stuff. He has about 87 podcasts going on.
Yeah, a couple TV shows.
Yeah, he's done Supergirl, I think some Arrows, a lot of the DC universe, basically.
Yeah, so he's done a bunch of those, and then he has Comic Book Men, which is another, just fun thing that he does.
A fun TV show while it lasted.
Right.
And then a few years ago, it was probably 2017, I believe.
Yeah.
It was right before his heart attack that he was writing Clerks 3.
Yes.
And apparently he got all the way to the point of almost heading into production. And apparently Jeff Anderson didn't want to do it. Who plays Randall. So you can't do a Clerks 3 without one of your two main stars. So that kind of fell apart. And he was going to pivot to do Mallrats 2. But then he found out he would have had to deal with Universal, and there was issues there. So he kind of took both scripts, and it was, again, then he had his heart attack, I guess. And while that was all going on, he was, healing, he was getting healthier, et cetera, et cetera. He basically took both scripts and melded them together into what became Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Now, with about 3 minutes left on the radio side of things, by the way, head over to our Facebook page, facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv, because we are streaming right now, but we're going to continue the conversation as soon as the radio show's done. But I'm going to turn it over to you, Eddie, because you were there live at the Wilbur Theater in Boston with Kevin Smith for the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot Road Show. Tell us what you can before we head off.
Yeah, so I mean that's 100% accurate. He basically Frankensteined those two scripts together because he believed that he was going to die soon, right? And so he wanted to make this movie and wrap everything up and kind of make this, he wanted to kind of make this as the swan song if this was going to be the last thing that he ever did, and spoiler alert, that he's feeling much better and healthy, and basically this movie, through the process of making it, healed a lot of relationships for him. We're gonna get into the Jay and Silent, into the Ben Affleck stuff in the actual movie review. Yep. But yeah, he got everybody in the right place so that Clerks 3 could be made and Mallrats 2 can be made. Mm-hmm. And it seems like this movie did a lot of healing spiritually for him. Right. And it shows in the reboot, and his passion is just as passionate as it ever was.
And while it's still a Jay and Silent Bob vulgar comedy, right, it's also possibly the most mature Kevin Smith film he's done.
It is. That was the one thing that I didn't really like about Jay and Silent Bob, was that it was like a little too juvenile.
Strikes Back, you mean?
Strikes Back, sorry. Yeah. That's why, Strikes Back, it was a little too juvenile at times and just kind of was a little turned off by it. But this movie, while it stays true to all the characters and everything, mm-hmm, there is a little bit of maturity to it. I mean, that's a major theme of the movie, but right, it definitely, it shows you where he's come, how far he's come as a filmmaker.
And I mean, we've spent the past half hour talking mostly about Kevin Smith, and including that last bit about, where he's come as a filmmaker. And I mean, obviously as a father, his daughter is one of the leads in this movie, but also Jason Mewes.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to get, again, a lot of his heart and stuff. comes into that Affleck scene, which we're going to talk about on our Facebook page, facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv. But yeah, again, you could see just the maturity levels of Jason, which you haven't seen in the past, 25 years or so?
Right. It shows where he is as a person.
So head on over to our Facebook page right now, facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv, where Eddie and myself are going to continue this talk about Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Thank you for joining us on the radio show, and thank you to Showcase Cinemas for sponsoring That Movie Show. Mike Wendt and Eddie McCabe. You can follow us on social media at Mike Wendt, at the Eddie McCabe, hashtag That Movie Show, and the website is thatmovieshow.net. We will be back next week. Oh, and we got a good one on deck next week. Guns Akimbo. But first, head to the Facebook page, facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv for Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
Bye, everybody.
The cinematic event you've been waiting for is now upon us.
I'm Jay, and this my head of life mate, Silent Bob.
Jay and Silent Bob are back?
Critics are calling Jay and Silent Bob Reboot a hysterically good time. This is the endgame of all of Kevin Smith's movies.
Light it up.
A star-studded celebration.
We're gonna drive the franchise into the ground.
Audiences all agree they can't get enough. Yeah! And Instagram user Avalos84 says simply, Snoochie Boochies.
We going back to Hollywood.
All roads have led to this.
Somebody wants an Oscar.
That's Hooey Valley, Hooey Hollywood. Where any
And welcome in. For those of you just joining us, why are you joining at the halfway point?
Yeah.
But if you're jumping over from the radio show, which we just wrapped up, welcome to our Facebook page, facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv. Of course, we're also on every podcast app. So hit the subscribe button. Tell your friends, hey, you got to listen or watch this movie podcast or That Movie Show, whichever way you want to call it. Doesn't matter as long as you hit the subscribe button. Mike Wendt, Eddie McCabe. At Mike Wendt, at the Eddie McCabe, hashtag That Movie Show. But we did all that because we've been on for a half hour. So I feel just an OCD in me.
Yeah, we had to reset. We had to do the reset.
Do all this stuff. Yeah, we wrapped up the radio show. Now we can talk about Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Let me get the business out of the way. It was released October 15th, 2019. It had a budget of about $10 million and made a box office of 4.6, which on paper sounds like a failure.
Yeah.
However, it was only released for, I believe, 2 or 3 days in theaters.
Yes.
And then Kevin Smith took it and did the road show, which I'm assuming has made all his investors back their money because he's had doing double sold out shows in every city for almost an entire year.
Yeah, and each movie each screening is like $30.
Yeah, exactly. So he's making his money back. It was written and directed by Kevin Smith. It stars, of course, Kevin Smith, Jason Mewes, Harley Quinn Smith, Ben Affleck, Jason Lee, Shannon Elizabeth, Rosario Dawson, Brian O'Halloran, everyone that's literally ever been in a Kevin Smith movie except Jeff Anderson.
Yes.
So they're all in there with a bunch of new faces as well that we will get into. Right off the bat, Eddie, you were at the road show in Boston. So give us an overview synopsis of what went down besides the movie.
So basically the show starts and, Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith come out and they just talk about they talk about the movie and they kind of basically do what you do minus the money stuff of like saying, hey, this is the movie we made. This is what it is, blah, blah, blah. Gave a ton of props to Jason Mewes and everything that he's doing. And, this is definitely his movie. You know what I mean? Like Jay is the mouthpiece to a silent, co-star, right? So, it's great. And then the movie screens. Yeah. And then after the screening, there's a Q&A.
Sure.
And
there's a Q and then 3 hours of an A.
Yeah. And then a Q and then 3 hours of an A. So, but it's fun, man. It is so fun to watch. It's fun to be there. I don't think I would have enjoyed this movie in the theater as much if I had just seen it at a showcase or, you know, in a different random theater with a bunch of random people that just went to see a movie on a Friday night. The atmosphere of a bunch of people that were there to see a Kevin Smith movie, fans of Kevin Smith, fans of Jay and Silent Bob,
Right.
made watching this movie so much more enjoyable because they got all the cameos, they got all the references, they got all the jokes, you know, that are long running jokes. And it was just a good time. It was a good time. It was a good time at the movie. And, you know, I was just really happy to be there.
I didn't get out to a roadshow. I didn't get out to see it in theater. I got it day one on Blu-ray and watched it. And I think I immediately texted you when I was done watching it. I don't think I've laughed that hard at a movie in years.
Yeah, it's funny.
It was funny. I mean, just genuinely funny. But yeah, it is basically a movie based around references, callbacks, and cameos. That should be the subtitle of the movie. Jay and Silent Bob references, callbacks, cameos, because there is a shitload of
Right.
all.
Right.
Right off the bat, and even upon rewatching, which I rewatched it this morning, this scene in the movie still has me belly laughing, and it is the Ku Klux Klan rally, which is led by Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
But the funniest part is Silent Bob doing the Alec Baldwin speech from Glengarry Glen Ross to a bunch of Klansmen.
Yeah.
You call yourself a Klansman, you son of a bitch? Pitchforks are for closers.
It's so funny.
I'm from fucking Mitch and Murray.
That movie, like, it's so funny. It is so funny.
Because the first time I watched it, it took me a second because first of all of a sudden Silent Bob is full on speaking, which, you know, we've all heard it, but it's always like, okay, where's it going to come in? And he comes over in a hood standing next to Chris Jericho, and he just goes, are they all here? Fucking I'm going anyway. And I'm like, what is that from? And then he starts going, I'm like, oh, he's doing the Baldwin speech. Yes!
Well, and it's so funny because this shows you how good of a writer Kevin Smith is, because they reference it at least once that they're like, yeah, he knows the entire speech from Glengarry Glen Ross. And I'm like, oh, that's what we're doing. Like at some point he's going to say something and that's what it's going to be. And it just comes at a beautiful time. It's absolutely fantastic.
It was wonderful. Yeah, so let's jump into the movie. Of course, we start right where we left off, right at the quick stop.
Yeah. Yes. And the police show up.
Yeah, Dante gets jacked up right off the bat. Donnell Rollins is the police captain of this SWAT team. The actor that's right next to him, which is absolutely hilarious in the scene. I'm blanking on his name, but he was like the Joker's fake cop in Dark Knight. That's what I know him from.
Yes, he's that weird Weasley looking guy that's in everything.
I believe his first and last name both start with a D. Weird. Yeah, exactly. David. Oh boy. David. He's also in Ant-Man. He's one of Ant-Man's crew.
He is. Yes.
David Chain.
Sure, exactly.
Wow, that's a lot of consonants in his name, man.
Yeah, what you said.
Yeah, so he's there.
Yeah.
And we are off and running. The Jay and Silent Bob have set up a grilled chicken grow house next door to the Quick Stop called Cock Smokers.
Yeah, yep, Cock Smokers.
And of course, they're busting them for drug trafficking. We get our goodbye horses scene because Donnell Rollins is yelling through a megaphone, drop the plants. Jay obviously takes it as drop your pants. Yes. And Jay is never untucked, so there we go.
Yeah, so there we go, and we're just off to the races.
And we jump right from there into court, and the court is basically court cameo.
Oh, it is. It's cameo court.
Craig Robinson, Joe Manganiello, that's another name. Magic Mike, and
Sofia Vergara's husband.
Yes, him.
Very funny interaction between him and MJF, the professional wrestler, about Dungeons and Dragons.
I didn't know this. Who the fuck did I recently? Oh, The Big Show. I was watching The Big Show on the Austin thing on the network, and apparently they're all giant Dungeons and Dragons guys. Like they have massive. Like Joe Manganiello hosts massive Dungeons and Dragons parties.
Yeah, he's a huge, and it's so funny because he's like, the MJF starts making fun of him, and then he's like, nobody that's jacked is into Dungeons and Dragons, and then he's just like, I am, and it's like his sexiest man of the year, swimsuit edition.
Like no joke, like they are like massive games that go like for days on end. It's kind of bonkers. Also in the scene, serving as the prosecution, Frankie Shaw. Most recently from Smilf on Showtime, and Justin Long, who is not legally playing Brandon St. Randy from Zack and Miri Make a Porno, but he's playing Brandon St. Randy from Zack and Miri Make a Porno.
There's a lot of that in this movie.
We can't legally call him that, but even IMDb has him listed as that.
there is only one character that can't be who they are, and they are who they are.
And they are who they are. Yeah, fantastic. Also, Dick Wolf on Grindr.
Oh, it's so funny. And so then basically they end up, they don't get off, but they end up signing away everything.
Well, they do. He kind of fucks them because not the way he wants to, but he's playing their lawyer right off the bat. And he has them sign these things. Of course, Jay, being Jay, says, "Oh, don't fucking read it. Just sign it." So they just sign it. They get off on the drug charges.
Yeah.
And then as Craig Robinson, playing the judge, is letting them go, they call the next case, which is Saban Films versus Jay and Silent Bob. And Brandon St. Randy, not legally Brandon St. Randy, walks to the prosecution's desk and says, I am representing Saban Films, or in this case, I am representing Hollywood.
Yes.
And the papers he had Jay and Silent Bob sign was basically relinquishing rights to ever call themselves Jay and Silent Bob, because now Saban Films owns that because they're rebooting Bluntman and Chronic, and the alter egos of Bluntman and Chronic are Jay and Silent Bob. And now we get the main plot of the movie, which is the reboot of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
And it's so funny because this first act is just beat for beat Strikes Back.
Yeah,
it's just beat for beat Strikes Back, which is great. We head
to the mall and visit Brody.
Right,
Brody? Yeah, Brody.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the Jason Lee character from Mallrats. I keep getting confused with that one and his Chasing Amy one, which did not make an appearance in this.
No.
Even though he was part owner of Bluntman and Chronic.
Yeah, well, he sold it. Doesn't he sell it?
No, Holden sold his rights to Banky in Strikes Back. But I don't know. In this one now, Holden's back with a podcast. We'll get to the Ben Affleck scene later.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Brody has moved his version of the secret stash from New Jersey into the Mall of New Jersey. Because he just wanted to get away from people.
Yeah. And it's empty and dying because it's a mall in 2019.
Yep.
And
goddamn right it is.
It's a mall in 2019, so it is what it is. But yeah, he goes and they beat for beat the thing. It's like, look, they have the reboot, like they have the rights. This is what the plan is, and they're like, well, now we got to go to Hollywood to stop it. Yep. And then they end up going on it, trying to get on an airplane, but we find out that Silent Bob is on a no-fly list
because of the terrorist organization, the Clit.
The Clit.
As we all know, the Clit is not real.
Yes. And it's so funny because there's so many winks and nods to him getting thrown off of that Southwest flight.
I mean, it's literally called the airline is called Southwest Airlines.
Yeah. So so that whole thing is just a giant inside joke to him getting thrown off that airplane for being too fat to fly.
Right.
And so they decide to do the next best logical thing, and that's call an Uber. Mm-hmm. They steal a guy's credit card and just take an Uber, which is fantastic. Fred Armisen is fantastic as our Uber driver.
What was that guy's name? Because I had a little trivia fact about that one too. The guy whose identity they basically steal. Where is it? Come on. Oh, okay. Ted Underhill.
Yes.
Okay, so do you know where that name comes from?
I don't know, but it sounds super familiar.
Ted Underhill was the name that Chevy Chase in Fletch used to charge the hotel room.
Okay.
And of course, because Kevin Smith at one time was attached to do a Fletch reboot with Jason Lee, there's your Fletch reference. Everything is a fucking reference.
Everything.
So Jay becomes Ted Underhill. Yeah, Ted fucking Underhill the rest of the movie.
Oh, it's so great.
And this is my partner, Mr. Taint.
Yeah. So, and it's also so funny just how nice Fred Armisen is in this movie, or in
really
this.
is.
You know, he's such a good guy, and you're waiting for the turn the entire time, and it isn't until they stop at the movies.
It's right before the okay, so we get Fred Armisen. Jay and Bob start hotboxing his car, and he's like, "Oh, it's a good thing you guys are smoking because it's been terrible to get the smell of shit out of the back seat because the last guy that was here took a shit all over the back seat." Blah blah blah. Joke joke joke. Right. They ask, "Why does your car smell like French fries?" So he reveals that also, along with being an Uber driver, he's also invented basically the glove box tater tot oven.
Yeah, yes. And so he just cooks tater tots for people in his Uber.
So he calls them hater tots because all the kids love hater tots.
Yeah.
But yeah, he can't make it work. So yeah, they get to a movies, and
because they're hungry as fuck.
And they reveal to him, because he's like, "Oh, your cigarettes are really strong smell." He goes, "Oh no, this is weed." He goes, "Oh well, you guys are brave. I've been afraid of getting arrested, I've never tried it." So they give them. They've been carrying around these 3 magic joints that they had.
Yes.
Which is like the strongest weed that has ever been produced. So they give him one, and he starts smoking outside. They go into movies. We basically recreate the movie scene. Just instead of Justice walking through the door, he sees her on the TV. She's now a weather girl,
right?
With Grant Hicks, one of the many Hicks brothers.
Yeah, one of the many Hicks brothers.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So basically,
Hicks relative.
We recreate Jay humping the shit out of the air. We also get a miscommunication because Bob has been communicating through text messages.
Yes.
The running text joke, which got less. It was one of the things that got less funny throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Because he sits there and he type, and
emoji.
turns it, and it's just one fucking emoji. I got it. Clever. Got it. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, he's now vegan. So Jay orders all his meaty burgers and shit like that. And Jay turns and he wants an eggplant. And of course, the millennial behind the counter takes it as a dick emoji and starts pulling a knife on him and all kinds of shenanigans. Kevin Smith's wife is in this scene, who I believe the character she's playing is the mother of his daughter's character, Harley Quinn Smith's character in Yoga Hosers. Deep
I believe
cut.
So. Yeah.
And she takes him into the bathroom and basically rapes him.
Yeah. All while Fred Armisen is getting arrested.
He's getting jacked up by the cops in one of the funniest chase scenes ever. They're just slowly old man jogging around the front where the cops are just kind of walking as Fred Armisen thinks he's bobbing and weaving, but he gets arrested.
Yeah.
Car gets towed.
Yep.
And they realize, oh shit, Justice is a weather girl here in Chicago.
Yes.
So they walk over to her house.
Yeah, because they also don't have a car anymore.
Right. And they're pissed because not only do they not have a car, but they gave away one of their joints.
Yeah.
We get to Shannon Elizabeth's house. She passes out at the sight of Jay and Silent Bob.
Right.
And then they get fucked up by Harley Quinn Smith showing up and hitting them with hockey sticks.
Yeah. And so she ends up tying them both up. And yeah, it's we basically get a whole reveal of, Justice's new life. Mm-hmm. And, Jay is, flabbergasted that she would, she just basically ditched him. He loved her and she left him. And
well, she went to jail.
Yeah, that's right. She went to jail.
She went to jail at the end of Strikes Back.
That's right.
But
I thought she died.
No, she was in jail she was in the jumpsuit at the Morris Day show.
Yeah, that's right.
At the end. But yeah, so they revealed that Harley Quinn Smith is now Jay's daughter, Millennium Falcon.
That's right.
Because Justice married a woman whose last name is Falcon, obviously. Who's played by Rosario Dawson in her brief cameo, which again was just wonderful because she's wonderful.
Yeah, she is wonderful. It's just weird because she's Dante's wife.
And now she's also Shannon Elizabeth's wife.
And so it's like, yeah, I mean, there's parts in these movies where people play double people. I mean, Kevin Smith plays Kevin Smith and Bob in this. You know,
in the universe, Jesus, like we just talked about, there's 3 Hicks brothers that we know of,
right?
All played by Brian O'Halloran. Affleck is not only Ben Affleck from Strikes Back, but he's also Shannon Hamilton from Mallrats and Holden from Chasing Amy.
Yes.
Are we counting Jersey Girl? Because it's referenced in this movie a bunch.
Well, isn't Silent Bob in Jersey Girl?
I don't know if Silent Bob is.
Yeah, so then no.
It's definitely referenced though in this movie a bunch as like an utter failure. But yeah. So I mean, everybody's playing multiple people.
Yeah. So it was just weird that we didn't see, like, I get why we didn't see Randall. You know what I mean? Like that one makes sense. But
we didn't see him because he didn't want to fucking do the movie, which is the reason we got this movie in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's like they had the cast of Clerks, and guess who wasn't there?
Yeah, right.
For that 1 second shot. I'd like to hear that story. I'd like to hear his side of that story.
I would like to hear his side of that story too, but it does feel like we're going to like actually get Clerks 3.
It does sound that way.
You know, it feels like they've made up, and again, it comes with the spiritual healing of this.
Sure.
You know, but again, so we'll get there.
At some point around here, we get the Loki scene.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And so that is all of a sudden out of nowhere,
literally.
Loki, not the god of mischief,
no,
by Tom Hiddleston, but Loki, the angel from Dogma, shows up, and it's Matt Damon.
Yep.
And
Matt Damon,
and he basically just kind of gives us an overview. It's right before all this stuff happens, because he like talks over the map when they like are traveling.
Okay.
And God, it is so funny because he basically was just like, yeah, I have to now. I forget where he says he has to spend all of his time.
I have the whole speech.
Oh, then go right ahead.
I watched it this morning, and I laughed very hard at that speech. Because it's literally just it's Matt Damon looking into camera and delivering a monologue.
Yeah,
a very self-referential monologue at that. So Loki turns around holding a Bible.
Yes.
Clearly in church. And he says, "Hi, remember me? I'm Loki, the angel of death from Dogma. Now, if your kids are looking at you right now like, that's not Tom Hiddleston, just tell them I was Loki in the 90s before it was cool, and I did it without the fake British accent. Anyway, for 20 years now, people ask, what happened to Loki at the end of Dogma? Did he go to hell? Heavens no. Pun intended. But I did almost unmake existence. So as punishment, God, who looks exactly like Alanis Morissette, banished me to life on Earth again. But not Wisconsin this time, thank Christ. No, God dropped me in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, where I was rescued by Italian fishermen. I didn't even know who I was at the time. I had total amnesia. So after the events of Dogma, I guess you could say I was born again. And you know what you're looking at? And you know what you're looking at now? Wait for it. My reborn identity. Boom! Shit! Pun game on point. You just got touched by an angel, son. Anyway, after driving for a day and a half, Jay and Silent Bob stopped in Chicago, where their lives would forever change.
Yeah. And
what the fuck?
So Kevin Smith touches on this in the road show. He talks about this whole thing. And so, like we talked about earlier, it might have been on the radio show portion of this. If you jumped over or missed that part for whatever reason, go check that out.
It's all on the video.
Yeah, it's all on the video. Scrub back after. But basically, the Weinsteins own Dogma. Yes. So, Kevin Smith was trying to get Matt Damon to be in this movie. He wanted Matt Damon to be in this movie. He was like, "Hey, we got everybody. I want you to be a part of everybody."
Sure.
And he couldn't get in touch with Matt Damon. Right. Couldn't get in touch with him. Just not like he was filming something or he was just out of touch on vacation. Like just couldn't get in touch with him. And so they're just doing the movie. And so then basically they're ending the movie. Like they're finishing up filming and they're basically done. And Matt Damon calls and was just like super excited. Man, I want to be a part of it. I really want to do it. Oh my God, that'd be great. And he's like, shit, like we don't have anywhere to put you. Like
Right.
I have one more scene and it's like, you know, Jay and the little girl. You know what I mean? Like, like it's just a scene he can't be in.
Right.
And it's like, man, I have an idea. And so they just assumed that Harvey Weinstein had so much going on that they would just ignore this part. And they just fucking did it.
So
And
what you're saying is legally, Harvey Weinstein could sue Kevin Smith for this Loki scene.
correct.
That's fucking hilarious.
Because he does not own Dogma at all and did not get permission for any of the Dogma stuff.
Wow.
And yeah, he just straight up was just like, I'm pretty sure he's got enough on his plate right now that I'm just going to do this and we'll see what happens.
Wow. That is a colossal middle finger to
Yeah.
Harvey Weinstein because he literally starts with "I'm Loki from Dogma."
Yes.
Fuck, man. That's wow. Good balls
No.
on you there, Kevin. Good balls on you.
And so that's the type of fun stuff that you get at a road show.
I like it. I do like it. So that clearly came right before the whole
movies.
the justice in the movies and all that stuff. So fast forward to basically the kids. We also get introduced to Millennium Falcon's friend, Soapy.
Yes.
Oh, Soapapia?
Soapapia.
Because Jay calls her Soapy Penis.
Yes.
Who is deaf. So there's a lot of sign language going on. It does actually play into the climax of the movie in a brilliant kind of way. They got to go to Hollywood, and they have this whole plan about Hollywood.
Right.
Basically, they want to go to the Chronic Con as well, which is the Bluntman and Chronic version of Comic-Con. And so they basically threaten Jay and Bob with knives.
Yeah,
You're
they
fucking
do.
taking us.
Yeah, they're just like, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And they kidnap these men.
Yep, basically. So they call an Uber in that situation.
Yeah.
And this is also where she basically doses them with edibles.
Yeah.
And they pass out and have their Method Man and Red Man dream.
Right.
Fucking brilliant again.
Yeah.
Which this scene alone makes me want a How High 2 and not the straight to video version we got a few years ago.
Yeah, wasn't even them, right?
It wasn't them. No, it was two rappers that I don't know because I'm 40.
Yeah, right.
But I want these guys back. Like this one scene, I was like, yes. Like, Kevin, put Clerks 3 on the back burner. Do How High 2.
Do How High 2.
Do How High Reboot. I just want more stoner comedies.
Yeah.
So they do that, and it's Redman in a certain way explaining how to be a father.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
a great line. He's like, how are you going to talk about love and being a father while you're just spraying cum all over the place? It's unseemly. Fuck. So they wake up in the middle of the road, and Jay's ass is hanging out. Of course it is.
Yeah, of course.
And we find that they're in now phase 3 of Millie's plan there.
Yes, something like that. I believe it's phase 3, and so
She's
they're trying to
picked up 2 more
secure a
friends.
van.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're trying to
two more friends, and they're what, like pervert baiting?
Yeah, so they're trying to, so basically they baited this guy in a van to come, who's basically just he's a
He's
pedophile.
there to fuck a little girl.
Yeah. And
Period.
so basically they end up jacking his ride. They just kick him out of the car and take the van.
Yep.
And then they take off. And all the while Jay is having this weird existential crisis,
Right.
because he's like now starting to like become a father. You know what I mean?
Because he's been told that Millennium Falcon is his daughter. So everything she's doing, it's like that the moral conundrum. It's like even Redman says it in the dream sequence. It's like, look, if you have a kid that gets you high, have another kid just like that. But also there's the side of it that's like, yeah, but I have to be a dad, and she's doing a lot of fucked up shit right now.
Yeah, right. And it's
She's pulling knives on people. She's drugging people. She's baiting perverts. It's like there's a lot of moral problems here if you're a father.
right. And so, but it's a lot. He sees a lot of him in her, which is a good and a bad thing, you
Sure.
know. But the growing process starts. I think next is
Chris Jericho.
yeah. Okay. They end up going.
We get Fred Armisen's return.
Yes.
Because they pull into a Movies and Fred Armisen jumps on the roof of the van because they wrote him a scathing review, which was basically the poop shoot review from Strikes Back redone.
Yeah.
You are the cocksuckers or wherever they said. And he starts hurling tater tots at them.
Yeah.
Bob hilariously catches one like a circus seal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reference.
Yeah.
And then the girls just take off with the van. Millie has picked up two more friends.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all girls, and I don't know if we know it at this point, but I believe we do. They're all girls who don't know who their dad is.
Yes.
And so they're all going to Hollywood to find their father or something.
Yes. One
there's the girl from China.
Yep.
There's a girl from China, and she wants to be in an American movie before she has to go back to China.
Specifically this American movie.
Yes.
She's apparently a giant Bluntman and Chronic fan, and she's going to lose her visa. She also is spending the whole time whispering into a podcast recorder, kind of like the Asian girl in Pitch Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if there's a connection there, but she just sits there the whole time whispering into this little podcast recorder. Also, their Arab friend Jihad
Yes.
is with her.
Of course.
All these girls are fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
Like the four of them playing off each other. I kind of want to see a separate side movie of them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just them being friends and solving mysteries or something.
Literally just make a Scooby-Doo with them.
Yeah, sure.
Just
sure.
a very R-rated Scooby-Doo that includes baiting child molesters.
Yeah. And so they end up in the middle of a KKK rally. Like they're going to kill these girls.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They get them all tied up. They're gonna kill him. So Jay and Bob obviously have to save the day. This is where we get the Glengarry scene with Bob.
Yeah.
And they save the day by basically dousing the Ku Klux Klan in shit from a porta potty.
Yes. As you do.
As you do. Who the fuck is Mitch and Murray?
At the time, former AEW champion Chris Jericho is the leader of the Ku Klux Klan in this movie.
It might be the funniest scene in the movie.
It is.
In a very funny movie that made me laugh very hard. Like I said, I watched it again this morning for the second time now, and this scene still kills me. It's very funny. So funny.
It is very, very funny. And so now we're on to Hollywood.
Hollywood. Right? Yes. We're
on,
on the way to Chronicon.
Yeah.
I think we just kind of yada yada and get there.
Yeah, we do.
And we're met immediately. Oh, well, the girls in the van are kind of talking, and they all have this Chris Hemsworth fantasy. And there's very, very graphic descriptions of what they would do to his hammer.
Yeah.
So, of course, we're immediately met with a hologram of Chris Hemsworth, basically telling that the hologram is the most cynical hologram ever. I don't want to be here. Good. Doing this for the fucking money. Please don't hump my hologram. Please don't take selfies with my. Just don't leave me alone.
Yeah, just leave me alone. Go that way or go that way. And that's where we find out that they have different agendas for being there. Jay and Bob are trying to stop it, and the girls are trying to be a part of it.
Correct.
And so that's where we find out that they have these different agendas, and Millennium Falcon and Jay have this moment where they're going to separate, and it's that like turning where it's just like, oh, you're not who I thought you were, and like they part, not enemies, but not the same.
Anybody watching this, by the way, I'm trying really hard to stay out of the fucking sun. It's blasting me right in the eye.
Yeah, it is.
I'm just, I'm just gonna close my shade right here. Let me see, down. There we go. All right.
Do you have electric shades? God damn it.
Yes, I do.
God.
Shades 2, Electric Boogaloo. That's much better, by the way. Now I'm not getting blinded in my eye.
Yeah.
Anywho, so Jay and Bob basically go room to room. It's literally Comic-Con. Yes. And they run into the comic book men panel. They run into the cast of Clerks minus Jeff Anderson panel. where everybody turns black and white. Very cute.
Yes.
And then we run into the next room, which is the Holden McNeil podcast room. And we are met with Ben Affleck looking, I don't know. It's hard for me to talk about people aging and not looking good, but there's a lot of aging in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like I don't know, something about Ben, he looks very shiny in this movie. Is it me? His face looked very shiny and tight in this movie.
Yeah.
That's all I took away from it. We'll get to the heartwarming shit in this scene, but every time I see him in this scene, I'm like, why is his face so tight?
I don't know. He had work done.
Yeah, but that day?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right, let's jump into this beautiful scene here, which basically retcons chasing Amy.
Yes. And so basically in the I gotta be a dad, if I gotta be a dad conversation with Holden, he basically talks about how important this little girl is.
Yep.
And
because he shares the daughter with Alyssa Jones from Chasing Amy, who's again Joey Lauren Adams reprising her role. Her and her girlfriend wanted a kid, and they had Holden be the father.
Right.
And now they have a daughter.
Yes. And so it's a really kind of happy
Oh, by the way, the daughter's name? Amy.
Amy. And now he's always chasing Amy.
The exact wow. By the way, the Affleck shit, as far as funny scenes, I'm going with the Ku Klux Klan and Jericho. But as far as just reference after reference after reference after reference in a very funny way, this Affleck scene is really good.
Yeah.
The daughter's name is Amy. By the way, the daughter is played by Logan Lee Mewes, Jason Mewes' daughter.
Yes.
And the reaction shots of Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes in this scene are just so endearing because Jason is clearly just playing with his daughter in this scene. He's for the character of Jay, I know he's dealing with being a father, but he's way too playful for the character of Jay in this. You can tell it's just him and his daughter having fun. But yeah, they go. He tells a story. Of course, it's basically Affleck, kind of retelling, but in a different kind of way, the Chasing Amy story that Bob told him.
Right.
And then when they take off, because he gives them passes. That was the big thing.
Yeah, they needed passes to get into the thing.
Into the Kevin Smith screening, basically. Because Kevin Smith, by the way, is playing Kevin Smith, who's directing the reboot of Bluntman and Chronic. And he, again, another funny bit is they just keep calling him Kevin James.
Yeah. Yes.
Great. So at the end, they all clear, and it's Affleck and the little girl left alone. And it's just Affleck working every movie he's ever made into this little speech here. He's like, see that? They're gone, girl. They're out on the town. There's something. He just starts referencing every one of his movies. And then even in the post-credit scene that they go back to this, there's a bunch of basically continuations on these scenes.
Yes.
In the post-credit one, they redo the Bomb and Phantoms, only this time it's Batfleck like a motherfucker, man.
Yeah, right.
So then we get to the big climax of the movie.
Yeah, we find out that the Chinese girl is actually some sort of terrorist
Russian.
of some kind. She's a Russian. Yeah, she's a Russian terrorist, and they're going to murder Kevin Smith.
And goddamn it, she was wearing a cat suit under her clothes.
Yeah, because God, so fucking funny.
Yep.
And so basically, Bob has to become Iron Bob, because fucking movies. And so he has to save the day as Iron Bob. Jason Mewes has to save Millennium Falcon. God, it's a climactic battle. It's very fun.
We get Jay, Bob, and the four girls, or the three girls now, because one of them is basically a Russian terrorist, having a big action fight scene with a bunch of Jay and Silent Bob cosplayers and the Cockknocker army.
Yeah, it was it's so funny.
We also get a clip from the rebooted Bluntman and Chronic, which now stars Val Kilmer and Supergirl. What's her name? Melissa Benoist. And as Alfred, Tommy Chong, as you do.
Yep.
As you do. at some point in this, we also got a Jason Biggs and James Vanderbeek moment, which I absolutely love. I love like dry comedy Vanderbeek.
Yeah.
It is so good. Look here, pie fucker. The movie wasn't all that bad. And then they just start bitching and moaning and going back. It's fun little banter that brings us back to Strikes Back. We also get Diedrich Bader who's playing the security guard from Strikes Back. And out of the blue, it had kind of been referenced, and I definitely wasn't expecting it, but it's Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, Keith Coogan, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. A lot of random ass cameos now. But yes, we're in the fight scene. What was her name? Shan Yu, who turns into the Russian agent, instead of having it, basically her podcast recorder was actually like a, I don't know,
Detonator.
Sonic noise thing. Basically, it makes this high pitched noise that incapacitates everybody except for their deaf friend who knocks her out.
Yes.
Because as she signs, hearing is overrated.
Yes. Hearing is
Lovely.
overrated.
Lovely.
And so, yeah, we end up the world is safe. Everybody's safe.
And we end up back where we started, back at the fucking quit stop.
Yeah. And that's it, man. Like,
Jay tells Millennium Falcon the story of how he met her mom in very graphic fashion.
Yep.
And we're back. We're hanging out. He's having his cup of coffee with his daughter. Dante's got gum in the locks, which in spectacular fashion, the very last end credit scene is back at the quick stop. Dante walking away to his car, and Jay looks to Millennium Falcon and says, "You see that guy there? For 30 years, me and Silent Bob have been coming here every night and shoving gum in the locks.
Yep.
Pay off for Clerks."
Yep. It's so funny.
It is, like I said, it's been a long time since I laughed as hard as I did watching this for the first time. It's just,
right.
You know, everyone might age, everyone might get older, and this might be a more mature movie, but damn it, man, funny is funny, and these guys are fucking funny.
Yeah. And so basically this movie did so well, and it healed Kevin Smith a lot. I mean, he talked about it like a spiritual healing, more, after his heart attack, and it fixed the relationship with Ben Affleck.
Yeah, 100%.
He basically was like, I need you to be a part of this movie, man. Like,
and I think that was like either done by like a fan brokered it almost either on Twitter or Instagram, one of the two, but he tagged both of them. And I think like they both kind of responded. Yeah. Or something like that. And then Kevin Smith just started texting Affleck again. And it was like, I'm sure he told the story.
Yeah, he told the whole story, and I don't remember
We don't
the
have
details.
an hour.
Yeah, I don't have an hour. We don't have an hour, and I don't remember the details. But yeah, basically that's kind of what ended up happening. It was they kind of, hey you on the internet, a little bit of grab ass, and then he basically texted him and was just like, hey man, like, come down to the set. I want this to happen. And I think that they were just in very, very different places. You know what I mean? I think
the last time they worked together was Clerks 2, which was 2006, I believe.
Yeah.
So I mean, both of them. I mean, you can read about Affleck's, all the stuff he's gone through in every tabloid magazine and TMZ that's out there. I mean,
right.
So they've both grown as people. They're both fathers. You know what I mean?
Right.
They've gone through their stories have kind of been going parallel, just in slightly different ways, and now they're intersecting and they're back. It's always fun to get the band back together.
Right. It's always tough losing a friend. You know what I mean? And, it's nice when you can, those very rare moments where you get to reconnect and it feels like you never missed a beat, And so
that's the thing, because they were like, people look at it like, oh, director, actor, but in all honesty, they were friends.
Yeah.
Like you look no further, and I know I keep talking about all the bonus features on DVDs and stuff like that, but the Chasing Amy Criterion disc, if you get that, there's like all these little, they basically made intros to literally everything. There's probably 2 hours of intros alone to all the deleted scenes, to all the outtakes and stuff. And it's Kevin Smith, Jason Mewes, and Ben Affleck high as shit in the quick stop, just having fun.
Right.
And it's like the three guys just hanging out, just
breaking
balls, telling jokes, and recording it for what at the time was Laserdisc.
Yeah, right.
Because there's a whole section on fuck DVDs because Kevin Smith was a giant Laserdisc fan at the time, and Criterion didn't have DVDs at the time, so Criterion was putting Chasing Amy out on Laserdisc, and so there's on the DVD literally the boot screen of it. The first thing that comes up is Kevin Smith going, "Hi everybody, let me apologize for what we say about DVDs."
Yeah.
Because you're going to get some mixed messages in this disc.
That's very funny.
It's fantastic. I can't recommend this movie enough. Buy it.
Yeah.
Go out and buy it.
You know, the good thing is that you should go buy this. You should, if you like Kevin Smith, you like Kevin Smith movies.
If you like laughing.
If you like laughing, watch this
fun.
movie.
Go watch this movie.
But yeah, I mean, it looks like Mallrats 2 is definitely going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, basically the same type of healing kind of happened with Jeff Anderson.
Sounds that way, yeah.
And so, you know, he was able to rekindle that, and it looks like Clerks 3 is going to happen, you know?
I like it. Again, we talked about it when we did our Rise of Skywalker. We've talked about it with most of our Star Wars shit. It's like I could live in this world.
Right.
You know, like I could spend a lot of time in the Kevin Smith world because it's so much fun.
Right.
You know, if he keeps making these View Askew movies, I'm a happy camper, man. He's get my money every time.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, that being said, I did not like Tusk or Yoga Hosers. So
yeah.
It's not like I'm sitting here just jerking off Kevin Smith in everything he does. I was not a fan.
Yeah, Tusk was weird.
Yoga Hoses was flat out bad. Cop Out was what it was. I love Red State. Like,
Red State's so good.
Most people haven't seen or heard of Red State. I suggest you go out and buy that motherfucker because you can find it at Best Buy for like $5 on Blu-ray.
He talked about the ending that he wrote for Red State. Have you ever heard this? So
it sounds familiar, but refresh my memory.
So basically, the climax of the movie happens, and the horns start going off,
right?
And then we got
the rapture.
Basically, he wrote the rapture happens, and like basically
he just didn't have the money. I think was that.
Yeah, he just ran out of money. Like they didn't have enough money. Basically, it was like it was like $100,000 to like make the movie, and then it was like $150 million ending.
Yeah.
You know, it was like something bananas like that. But he, you know, so that was really cool. That's the type of stuff that you see here at the road show.
Right.
You know, you hear like, oh, I wrote this instead. And it's just like, oh, that would have been really cool.
It's basically like a live DVD commentary.
It is. You know,
which
you get to
again,
ask questions.
Exactly. His DVD commentaries are some of my favorite. It's him, Robert Rodriguez, and then anytime Kurt Russell and John Carpenter get together. Those three, like those types of those movies, I'll listen to those commentary tracks all day, man. I usually listen to them before I watch the fucking movie. They're just so goddamn good. So that's Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
Yes, that is Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
And that is episode 100.
Wow, someone let us do 100 of these?
Yeah, we let ourselves do it.
Yeah, we did.
It's just the last few we've been getting paid for a little bit.
A little bit.
But it's also making the last month of the radio show fun.
Yeah, I know, huh?
You know, because we're kind of just double dipping.
Oh, yeah, by the way. Radio show's canceled at the end of the month.
Yeah, well, I think our last two shows will get more in depth into that without, you know, being too much of dicks about it. But
I will be as much of a dick as I want to be.
I agree. Who
do I have to talk to? I'm one of the bosses.
Who do I have to get permission for to be a fucking dick this week? Oh, me.
me.
But next week, man, I'm fucking excited for this. We saw the trailer simply because we did Ready or Not a few weeks ago, and I was typing in what was this Samara Weaving's was the star
a new movie,
and I type her name into Google, and up comes this trailer for this bonkers fucking movie. It stars her and Daniel Radcliffe, and it's called Guns Akimbo, and it just looks crazy stupid. Like it looks like Crank meets fucking whatever the hell crack they're on.
Yes.
It's wild. Yeah, it looks wild. I can't wait to watch it. I can't wait to review it. I can't wait to review it with all of you on episode 101. We almost did the Greasy Strangler, but I still haven't found that yet. that we might have to put aside for our Christmas watch along.
Okay. All right.
Because that trailer is equally as fucked up. But thanks for joining us for Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Mike Wendt, Eddie McCabe. You can follow us on social media at Mike Wendt, at the Eddie McCabe. Hashtag that movie show. Subscribe on any podcasting app. Tell your friends about it. Join the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv. And of course, the website is thatmovieshow.net, which has the archives and links to the podcast and all other fun and shenanigans. Eddie, anything else?
Go download the if you have a PlayStation, the demo for the Final Fantasy VII remake. It's as good as a movie.
Fair enough. There you go. We'll see you next week for Guns Akimbo.
Bye, everybody.
That's Hooey Valley, Hooey Hollywood, where any office boy or young McCabe